Apparently, the Sony and Kadokawa deal is moving forward. Lots of people are in despair about this news. I honestly don't know what to make of it. I don't like Sony and I don't like Kadokawa either, but I do love From Software, and I guess I'll just have to see what Sony will do to screw it up. I am so happy PC cucks will spend $2,000 on GPUs to wait 2 years for all FromSoft games going forward. I don't get why you're celebrating. We don't know for sure whether or not Sony will make From Software games exclusives from this point forward, especially when Bandai Namco has something to say about it. And even if that's true, I don't really mind waiting for a year or two for the game to come to PC. At least the game will be patched and fully optimized by then. I have a better PC than you. I simply prefer my games to be PlayStation exclusive. Why do you prefer your games to be a PlayStation exclusive? Being a PlayStation exclusive doesn't always mean quality. I don't see any PS5 exclusives that are as good as Persona 5 back when it was a PS4 exclusive. I, on the other hand, prefer games to be on all platforms so that more people can play them, because I'm not greedy like that. Isn't that right, Atlas? I have a 4090 and a 4700K. You? A laptop with a 4060 and a 12650H, and another laptop with a 3060 and a 10870H. I don't see how that's relevant because I can still play whatever games I want on a quality that I like on a frame rate that I desire. Also, aren't you the one mocking PC gamers for spending $2,000 on GPUs? And here you are with a setup that costs more than $2,000. Just saying. I said this before and I'll say it again. Being a PC gamer is all about playing games on a PC. If you're playing classic Doom on an old Lenovo ThinkPad, congratulations, you're a PC gamer. It doesn't need the best setup, it just needs to be good enough to play the games that you want to play. A while back, I remember that guy that made fun of PC gamers for having a subpar monitor for their PC gaming experience. They should have had a 50-inch 4K TV instead, even though that's not necessary at all. Something funny has happened ever since that tweet. My brother isn't going to be using his monitor anymore, so I decided to take it for myself with the monitor arm. And boy, what a difference does it make compared to just working on my laptop screen. This is the Acer KG241Q, a 24-inch VA 1080p 75Hz monitor. It's not the best, but 24-inch 1080p with good color accuracy is good enough for most people, including me. This person ordered something even better than mine. It's still 24-inch, but it's 165Hz, which means it has a high refresh rate, and therefore it will look much smoother. It's IPS rather than VA, which makes it better for viewing angles, and 125% sRGB coverage, which makes it very color accurate. It's good, especially from a Black Friday sale. PC Master Race has the worst setup, along with the cheapest monitor available. That monitor doesn't look cheap. And even if it's the same as my brother's monitor, which can go around $60 and less if it's on sale, it's still a much better screen to view content than my laptop screen. Also, the PC Master Race is not supposed to be taken seriously. To me, being part of the PC Master Race doesn't mean that every PC gamer has a setup that can beat a console. It just means that we PC gamers play games, and we have a lot more options and flexibility in how we want our experience to be. Oh, and to all the console gamers out there, I sincerely hope you can get your own portable consoles. But hey, that's just a typical day in the console war, right? I love giving my take on the console war. It involves my favorite topic, which is video games, and it involves idiots, whom I love to rip apart. The console war is over now. We're moving on to PlayStation versus PC. Is that it? Yeah. That's pretty much it, because most PlayStation games now are coming to PC, and not a lot of console fanboys are happy about that. Xbox fanboys aren't as enthusiastic anymore, and Nintendo fanboys are only playing defense. So yeah, it's mostly PlayStation fanboys that attack people. Some PC fanboys are more annoying than Xbox ones. That's because Xbox lost the game, and they're still coping with that loss, while PC is still dominating to this day. PC gamers are a bunch of... Call the police then, what are you waiting for? Most Steam child predators are definitely child predators though.
You have a single fact to back that up.
There's a reason Steam is called the underworld of gaming. The underworld of gaming? When you say underworld, I don't think of child predators. I think of Kate Beckinsale shooting werewolves and vampires. I wish we were that cool. PC elitists have been doing that song and dance for years. Only now they're actually getting the attention they've been desperately craving, making them much more insufferable as a result. My pleasure. You are most welcome. I am happy to annoy you. Console fanboys absolutely hate people hating their exclusives, even if that exclusive is worth all the hate in my opinion. This user asks, what is the most overrated video game of all time? I find this question very hard to answer because I really like most of the video games that I played, and I don't feel like the games that I played are rated way too highly compared to what I would have rated them. I can't really think of one at the top of my head. The Last of Us Part 2, I guess. God of War Ragnarok? I wouldn't say it's overrated because most people that I know don't rate it as highly as the first game. Yeah, sounds about right. It's not as good as the first one. Carry on. When you own an Xbox that has literally zero exclusives since everything is available on PC in higher quality, maybe. Yeah, because hating on PlayStation automatically makes you an Xbox fanboy, right? Also, Sophia plays on PlayStation and she platinumed almost all her games, including God of War Ragnarok. She's not a fan of it. The gameplay was average, painfully mediocre, and boring. I personally find the gameplay average and the story underwhelming. It's definitely not as good as the first one. Another thing that console fanboys love to do is to deliberately attack games that they don't get for no reason whatsoever. In the last couple of videos, I briefly mentioned about how the STALKER 2 developers made their game through harsh conditions of the war, as the developers are Ukrainian. This absolute prick dismissed all that, pretending the devs are in the middle of a battlefield so you can excuse trash optimization and blatant lies is on brand at least. I'd rather the game gets buggy than the developers being in real freaking danger if you ask me. And no, there's no pretending. The developers really did go through war. They are in Ukraine for God's sake. One of them even enlisted and died in battle. It's crazy you can't link to a single thing but wanna cry propaganda. Bro, you might as well say there's no war in Ukraine. There's no war in Ukraine. You can't think I give a damn what people pretending to care about a war they've said nothing about until it's convenient like now. I can acknowledge that the war exists without caring about it. Just because I don't care about the war doesn't mean I'm ignorant enough to not know that it's happening, especially to the game developers where they live in a country where that very same war took place. And here's me attacking a game for being a PlayStation 5 exclusive, or at least for a while. Sorry, my bad, I'm not attacking, I'm just criticizing. Big difference. There's an interesting article from PC Gamer talking about how JRPGs are on the rise, with titles by Neon Falcom, Atlas, and Square Enix's other JRPG titles like Dragon Quest, but not Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is not getting the good end of the stick for some reason. The thing is, I actually really like Final Fantasy 16. I like that it took inspiration from Game of Thrones. It's a nice little change of pace and direction from the usual Final Fantasy affair. I just don't like the gameplay that much, and there are way too many spectacles than substance. The same thing cannot be said of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Not a fan of that game. The 7 remake is good, I guess, but it's stretching itself too thin, and Rebirth does the same thing. I've seen plenty of people love it, but it's one of those games that really overstayed their welcome. But hey, at least it got Tifa to the Italian parliament. That's a good thing. But there is one thing that these two games have in common. They were both PlayStation 5 exclusives at a time where most Final Fantasy games are multi-platform. Final Fantasy 16 looks phenomenal, but it doesn't play well, and it's not something I'm gonna get a PS5 for, especially when it's already out on PC. 7 Remake works for a brief moment because there was genuine hype for it, and people want to know what they did in the game. But that same magic is not as exciting in 7 Rebirth. But then again, Neon Falcom also released their games on the console before the PC port several years later. Same goes to Atlas before they went all in on PC. But then again, the PS4 sold much better than the PS5, and there are plenty of great PS4 exclusives that make the console worth buying at the time. I still do think that the games being PlayStation 5 exclusives play a significant factor in their failure. Heck, Square Enix even declared that they're not gonna do exclusives anymore. There's also one factor, which is that Final Fantasy has been rather underwhelming as of late. Not bad, but not amazing either, just all around mid. In conclusion, Square Enix should probably make better games. Personally, I think Final Fantasy suffered a downfall from its peak ever since the 10th game. I have seen mixed opinions on the 10th game onwards, except 14. 14 is the GOAT MMO, and it's still the GOAT MMO. Oh, speaking of Final Fantasy X, it was on the PS2, a console that is 24 years old. Imagine being this old. I don't have to imagine because I am this old. I had to explain to a little kid what a PlayStation 2 was at work today. Yeah, this came in from the completely sudden news that PlayStation 2 in their lifetime sold 160 million units, making it the best-selling video game console of all time. The Nintendo Switch was the best-selling console with 146 million units sold. There's also the Nintendo DS that sold even more at 154 million, if you count handhelds, but the Switch is a handheld too, technically. Still, PlayStation came in and said, nah, it was the PlayStation 2 that sold the best of all time. But going back to the topic, all the kids out there, gather around for a story time. What is the PlayStation 2? Well, you know how the PS5 ends with a 5? That implies there are 4 more generations behind. All we need is to count backwards. PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation 2. And yes, there's also a PlayStation 1. A lot of games from the PS2, like Resident Evil 4, are preserved for the modern era because they are just that good. Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 got their modern ports. All-time classics, if you ask me. Persona 4, one of my favorite video games of all time, has its golden version on PC. SMT Nocturne, still one of the toughest JRPGs out there, and remastered for modern times, even if it's not perfect. If the games haven't been remastered or put on PC, don't worry if you don't have a PS2 because almost all their games are playable with the PCSX2 emulator, and you can find their ROMs on the 7 Seas. So if you want to join in PS2 fun, there's no better time than now. And finally, let's end this parade of console war with a classic clown. I love how DSP remains one of the most consistent and persistent creators of today. Consistently and persistently stupid.
This is fake. This isn't even the real PC. You wanna know why? Because there's no motherboard in it.
I'm sorry, what?
Because there's no motherboard in it.
Then how can the GPU hang on? How can the RAM sticks hang on? How can the AIO liquid cooler plate hang on to the CPU socket? What do you mean by no motherboard?
This is probably just a staging picture.
Granted, a lot of PC sellers do that, but there's a difference between claiming that PC sellers stage their PC photos and the PC has no motherboard. And that's all for the video today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it to the end, here's a cat. And also, huge thanks to all these wonderful sponsors. You are all fantastic. If you want to see your name among these legends, then check out the links below, just $1. And you have supported this channel a lot. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my ABB Show stream channel, link below, go subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.